a video to reassure mothers whether their baby is getting enough milk. So we're going to do the whole body of the baby, head to toe, and discuss the signs to make us feel reassured that baby's getting enough milk. So if we take the whole body at first, in relation to weight gain, so baby's gaining enough weight, that's a really good indication that the milk intake is adequate. Babies can lose up to 10% of their birth weight within the first 2 weeks of life, but they should regain up to their birth weight by 2 weeks, and then they should be following on their growth path as expected, which will be based on their gestational age, so when they were born, and their personal weight. And healthcare professionals can help you be aware of that and keep log of that by getting weighed regularly. So that's not for mothers to be too concerned about having to calculate all of those things on their own, but it's just about being aware that if those things are going on in the right direction, that's a really nice indicator that weight is, milk intake, is where it should be. So if we start from head to toe, so if we start with baby's head, so when we think about latching and attaching to the baby's mouth, which I'm going to do a separate video altogether on a good deep latch, because it's quite a subject in itself, but knowing that baby has a really nice mouthful of breast and the actual feeding is effective, which again I'll do another video on, they're two really nice indicators that show that milk intake would be at its best. And also the regularity of feeding. So if you're feeding between the 10 to 12 times in 24 hours as sort of ideal guideline of what mothers would regularly need to do in order to get the adequate supply and the adequate milk transfer between mother and baby, then that's a really nice reassuring sign that if you're hitting those sort of marks, that again, it's quality as well as quantity. So 10 to 12 times in 24 hours is what we're looking for. However, we need those 10 to 12 times to be really effective, adequate feeds, which again, I'll explore in another video. But if those are in combination with each other, that's a really good indication that the milk transfer is adequate. Another one is sort of baby's general body behaviour. So they should be able to come off the breast on their own accord when they've had enough milk, and they should have this nice sort of relaxed, settled state after a feed. So if you've had a good, adequate milk transfer and an effective feed, then over that course baby will pop off the breast on their own accord. So I'm not taking baby off the breast at all. Baby's going to come off on their own and have this sort of milk drunk appearance that we see with a little dribble, where they're just like, wow, like as if, you know, the same feeling you get when you just had the best Christmas dinner of your life, you know, and you're like, oh my goodness, that was so good. That's a kind of like look we're looking for, you know, of satisfaction. Don't be disheartened sometimes as well. Some mothers get confused with baby wanting to be physically present, so skin to skin a lot, and some mothers can confuse that with not enough milk and baby's not getting enough. But if we're seeing that signs after the feed and they're having a nice decent sleep, you know, or they're just generally relaxed, they can still be alert and awake, but they look settled and content after a feed, and they're not showing any feeding cues when the breast is that, you know, so available to them. That's a really good sign that they've had enough at that period of time. But if you find that you put baby down and they're quite quick to re-arouse, that's not necessarily that they don't want, that they've not had enough milk. It doesn't mean that they won't go back for more milk, but that also may be sort of that emotional reassurance and that physical contact that they're seeking again. So it's just about being mindful of that and not having no trust in your body that it's, you know, 100% going to be down to the fact that you've not got enough milk. Like I say, don't get me wrong, they may want more milk, but there is also that physical contact side there. So don't let that cast doubt in your mind potentially that you know, you're not making enough because they're always seeking you. It's you know, the emotional and nutritional sort of elements to breastfeeding are so intertwined that yeah, it's hard. It's going to be hard to know either way. But if you're seeing those nice signs after the feed that baby's content, then that's a really good sign. Also, going down the body, so we're going to our nappies now. So nappy wise, depending on the age of your baby, we would want to see different sort of nappy outputs. So I'll go into that on a different video again, just so you've got that very specifically. But for a baby over day 5, we're looking at least 6 heavy wet nappies a day. So nice heavy wet urine nappies within 24 hours, and stools. So we're looking, by that stage there'll be at least 3 50p size coin shaped in terms of the size, stools, so with your baby's poos, they're going to be mustardy in the texture, quite loose but not too watery, not mucousy, no blood, no greenness or anything like that, or that transition. So that colour that we're looking for is that sort of nice mustardy colour, and then they may have some little seeds in as well. So we're looking at that, at least 3, sort of 2 to 3 of those size stools every 24 hours. And that's for from day 3 to 5-ish, all the way to week 4. So if that is not happening at any stage, then that's a really important to indicate that to your healthcare professionals so that they can explore that further. So therefore, collectively, we've got the weight gain. We've got the nappy outputs. You've got your heavy urine, wet nappies, at least 6 a day, and at least 3 nice copious stools, so mustard colour, seedy. Babies feeding in the right frequency in 24 hours. So we've got at least 10 to 12 feeds in 24 hours. But with that, they need to be effective feeds, so good milk transfer, nice deep latch, which again we'll look at in a different video. And babies coming off on their own accord, so coming off when they're ready off the breast, they're looking content and they're nice and relaxed before, and there's a good duration between that feeling of satisfaction, which evidence suggests that breast milk generally digests within about 48 minutes. So it's not to say that you'd expect to feed your baby every 48 minutes, but it's just a way of being aware of the digestion process is very fast with breast milk. So we're going to get those nice signs of contentness, but yes, they're going to come quite frequently. Again, those sort of early feeding cues will start creeping back in, so you can obviously feed on demand, see those cues, and bring your baby back to the breast in those instances. So yeah, I hope that's helpful and reassuring. And obviously, sorry, I think I forgot to sort of wrap up with the weight gain. So again, weight gain, we can lose 10% within the first 2 weeks, which is within the range of normal, but babies should be putting weight back on within that time, back up to birth weight, and then they should be following their natural gain based on the age that they were born, whether they were 37 weeks when they were born, 38 weeks, 39, 40, etc. And also based on their birth weight. But again, the healthcare professional is trained to make sure that they are following that based on the calculations that they make. So it's just about being close with them in those sort of correspondences, so that you can touch base and know where you are. So yeah, I hope that is reassuring for you as a little sort of video to know what how if your baby's making enough milk. That's everything from me. Thank you.